Passing through the gates where we are taken to a higher realm. So no one wants to hear of that toxic cell. The bell of our ancestors where it's felt. Passing through the gates where we are taken to a higher realm. So no one wants to hear all that toxic cell. When the bell of our ancestors where it's felt. Passing through the gates where we are taken to a higher realm. So no one wants to hear all that toxic cell. When the bell of our ancestors where it's felt. Passing through the gates where we are taken to a higher realm. So no one wants to hear all that toxic cell. When the bell of our ancestors where it's felt.
Rahub, Rahub. Yeah. Warhub. Bienvenido. Welcome. Yes, my boyka. Whoa, 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 whoa. I'm telling you, they be riding some Lamborghinis up in my neighborhood. Ah, straight. I don't know what's going on with my I don't know what's going on with my shit over here, my phone. Um man, something weird's going on here. Anyway, man, so much happened. I woke up this morning, brother hit me up. I'm saying appreciate him very much, Hansu. It's just an honor for the brother to consider me. And I duly accept it to be a co-host with him in a particular podcast that he's embarking in. Like I said, man, I have no problems with anybody. And I'm not here to cause any tension or to co-sign on any drama and anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Again, I'm learning, I'm in training, and in terms of ambassadorship, you got to deal. I'm looking at it like learning how to deal with different states, different governmental bodies, and different groups, and how to be very diplomatic about it. And hey, on dog, saludos, good Friday, good Friday. That's right, it's Good Friday today. Yeah, tomorrow Saturday, I'm gonna be at the Parade at the Cultural Center here in North Carolina, Sabine Cultural Center. We're gonna have a little celebration, bring up the drums and stuff. Boyka! My boyka, my boyka. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So I'm definitely gonna do that. It's Good Friday, man. It's Good Friday. So, I'm gonna switch the narrative around. Should I? I mean, I was gonna speak about, suppressive personalities and stuff, about fear and things like that, but we don't want to do that, right? No, no. I'm gonna switch it around. I'm gonna change my narrative. You know what I'm saying? Um, let's look at it positively. Again, a lot of a lot of things are hidden from us, but they're being little by little being revealed. This is the apocalypse, what they call the apocalypse, right? We're fighting a war of principalities, of principles, morals, and ethics. We're fighting that war. You know what I'm saying? The war between good and bad. And you know, also, you know, so in celebration of today, what they call Good Friday, tomorrow Easter's, and then we got Sunday's Easter Sunday. We're coming into Easter. Um, a good point, I was just at the brother Hansu's podcast, and it's a prerequisite. We're gonna go. He wants to do a thing on Crumb TV. They're giving him a podcast on there a day, and he was mentioning about a presentation that was done about Easter. You know what I'm saying? But Easter was a good time. When I was young, I remember us. You know, if you can imagine, I'll paint the picture for you. So, I'm from the Bronx. You know, my grandparents lived in Willis Avenue, 143rd Street at the Mott Haven Project. Um, We used to, I used to spend time on there, especially when holidays like this. We'll go there, and our parents would go to on Third Avenue was Alexander on Third Avenue to go shopping for clothes. We needed the freshest clothes. We're a very religious family, Pentecostal. My grandfather was a reverend in the Pentecostal church. He, very well read in that particular school of thought. So, they used to take us to shopping the week before, right? And then the thread. My father was huge on that. My father used to dress us, and man, if you look at the pictures, I had very, expensive coats and shoes and stuff like that. They decked us out really, really good, and my sisters and stuff. And then we went to church. I remember going to church, Pentecostal church. But most important, what I remember is that we went to Palisade. If anybody know anything about New York, up there, Palisade, New York was a amusement park, one of the biggest amusement parks, especially in New York. I believe in the United States is one of the huge. This is before Universal, before Disney. This is before all of that. It was Palisade. It was called Palisade. I remember it being humongous, man. I remember the drive. We had to drive into the country. One from the Bronx, the city, but driving, and I remember seeing all the greenery and on the highway, and then Palisade. And then when we went in there, I remember the rides. It was a huge amusement park. And every Easter, right? Every Sunday, that's where we headed. Every Sunday. Not every Sunday, every Easter Sunday of the year when you're young. We went out there. Good Friday today. Yeah, we went out there. You know what I'm saying? That's the way, was raised up. I don't know if they still do that now. I mean, I don't sell. But here's the thing that I'm learning more and more and more that, and that was in a presentation with Jabari, made that presentation about the origin of Easter, that it goes all the way back into ancient Kemet. And I believe also, and I'm gonna say believe because I have to look for the documentations, actually the glyphs, and I have to really look into the oral traditions and the culture. That even in the Nile Valley, there was a practice. Well, it makes sense because that's the harvest. Remember spring, and you're getting ready for the harvest, for the summer harvest. Um, so everything is starting to spring up. You know what I'm saying? The season change. So our ancient ancestors, since they had this reverence, this respect, this reverence for natural nature, knew to mark these different seasons with and dress nice and eat good. Yeah. Barn dog, yeah, they go to granny house. Those are good times, man. I don't know, man. I mean, I think that was very good, very nice. But the seasons were marked by celebration and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? That the harvest. They still do that in certain African traditions. There's still a harvest at a certain time, you know, and marking the season with certain celebration. So Easter goes all the way back to a Set and her reverence. And it deals with the 4 seasons or the 4 days that Osiris was, you know, dead, and then he was resurrected. So it deals also with resurrection. You see a lot of the correlation between and those ideas and concepts, those oral traditions, those now Valley and Kemetic science. You see the correlation with today. You know what I'm saying? And I find that very, very interesting. Very interesting. The spring equinox, it's the new year for the Taino. Also in the Taino culture, they celebrate, that's the new year, the spring equinox. It marks the beginning of a season. The spring. Spring is a very important season. That's the springing to summer. You say fall to winter and springing to summer. So even in natural nature, you see bears. When they hibernate in the winter and in the spring they start to come out. You see changes. You see even in plants around you, in trees, in your forest. You see this in play. So was a celebration and mark that. And then when you deal with Kemetic signs and deal with Isis, which was Ishtar, and Isis Ishtar, and in biblical sense, Esther. When you look at the book of Esther, if you look at it, doesn't even mention, Amas Panaba Yenan said, doesn't even mention God or anything. It's the book of Esther, which I'm gonna read. I'm gonna read it probably later. I'm not gonna put it out here, but I'm gonna read it later. But yeah, um, you can see the correlation. You know what I'm saying? You can see those practices, those ancient Kemetic practice that actually found its way into other schools of thoughts. You know what I'm saying? It's just truth. Truth is truth. A lot of this is being revealed. A lot of us practice things that we not aware of the origin of it, and we can't connect it. Remember, truth is connecting all the pieces of the puzzle fitting perfectly together. So we can't expand. Papa ut. We cannot expand our experience. We cannot expand our doctrine because we're so contracted. You know what I'm saying? Which lead me to say that most people these days they fear the truth, and that's one of the maximums of Panabayananan. That most people these days they fear false evidence appear to be real. They fear the truth. You know what I'm saying? And they're so contracted that they cannot expand. That's the only that is very important when you deal with Papa. It's the expansion, the universe and natural nature expanding. And even your doctrine and your dogma has to be taken back to the source of it. You know what I'm saying? And then when you overstand that, you stand to reason that now what you're doing is you are validating something is doctrine, and then you can build on that. That's what's important. I spoke about that in the brother Hansu in the podcast that I was speaking about how people they compare Malachi, his excellency, that Malachi Ziyor, with these people like Paul Lai, and also Eligio. It came up because of Eligio Bishop, Three God, being in prison. Right now, I think it's been at 1 o'clock. He was supposed to go to court, something like that. I don't know what's the outcome of that, but I'll probably look it up. I'm not really interested in any of that because, like I said, you know what I'm saying. You got a lot of people out there that talk a lot of doctrine, a lot of things, but they don't show you anything practical. If I talk mathematics and I did mathematics and this and that, it sounds good. Sounds good. You know what I'm saying? But what are you doing with it? Are you an engineer? Are you applying it to apply sciences, what they call applied sciences, like engineering or architecture or something like that? You know what I'm saying? I'm very huge on that. Even when I get out of here and I talk about this doctrine, but you see, I already experienced of building a university. I already experienced, helping build the paras and stuff like that. And as today, what I'm saying, helping to build the para, what I'm saying, coming out with ideas and concepts. You know, your your doctrine had to be given and applied. And also, I could take all my mathematical. I study AutoCAD and MicroStation. You know what I'm saying? But that's me. You know what I'm saying? Because I've learned applied sciences. You got to apply this mathematics skills applied to something tangible. Build something with it. So I'm a speculative Mason, also an operative Mason. Very, very important. I was raised by the first worshipful master, Tashaka Malik, third generation Prince Hall. I was raised in Savannah, Georgia, as a master mason, right? And he is also he's an operative mason. He's a construction foreman. You know what I'm saying? So it's the Moors coming here when I did this study Benjamin Banneker Bay and the studies of Philly and those different institutions here in the city hall in Philadelphia, which was actually an African Masonic mosque, one of the first one African Masonic building lodge. You know what I'm saying? They took their doctrine, their oral tradition, and built something. And it's patterned after the one in Timbuktu. You know what I'm saying? The Grand Lodge in Timbuktu. You know what I'm saying? That was patterned after that. So again, applied sciences. What are you doing? So when you look at this religion and a lot of doctrine, there is applied science also. You know what I'm saying? Because you go to these churches, they built their churches and they built their communities before every city and state, every city that you go through throughout the states around the world, the central, the central part of that city is there is a church avenue or church street or church boulevard, you know, that's there, and there is a central church. And that church, it was a lodge, was first a lodge. And a lot of them, when you look more into it, were African lodges that became churches, that became city halls, that became the central, and where all the city grew out of. You can follow, you can follow this train of thought. You can follow this, but it's taking that's practical. You're building a city. Well, we've done it. We've done it in Bushwick, with a mosque. You know what I'm saying? The mosque, the Mahdi Mosque was the first one, right? Was erected with a silver dome, and around it, the buildings were purchased, and it was building a community. And the center of that community was that mosque. You know what I'm saying? It's practical. So a lot of doctrine, like in Christianity too, you had a lot of churches because they form a masonry, the Knights of Columbus, the Knights of Pythias, the Knights of Columbus, on and on, which came from the Knight Templars, right? They also took the science, they came here, and in the center of the cities, you find a Catholic church. And then you find an hierarchy, the cardinal, the bishop, on and on. You go to Vatican City where the Pope said, this is applied science. This is the science of government. This is a science. You know what I'm saying? The sign of building nation building, and stuff like that. So you got people that get stuck so much on the doctrine, this and that, but again, yeah, they're having Good Friday at the church across the street. You see that? They're building their community because if you look at the church across the street over here from me, they have a huge land. They have a school for kids, like yeah, they have a school, kindergarten all the way up to fourth grade, I believe. And they have all the, you know what I'm saying? I'm connecting with them too, you know what I'm saying? Because, a lot of them are it doesn't matter. A lot of them are melanated people, our people, but it doesn't matter, wherever any in humanity. And how can you work with all these different school of thoughts and stuff? Not to give them, because the civilization's changed, man. It's changed. You know what I'm saying? Um, One of my crown ambassadors sent me this thing, and the image of Jesus, and it shows a typical image of Jesus that people have. And I respect her. And I told her, boy, that's very soothing music. I love it, and this and that. I love the voice and the tones, whatever. But that's not my image of Jesus. If I'm gonna go into the origin, I go to Yeshua, which is actually his name, Yeshua, right? Or Heru, and it has a different image than what I see. And then you read in Revelations, you see a different image that you find in the walls of Kemet, with the Greek Assad ascending, being resurrected, Assad being resurrected, and then the Haru, that connection. You know what I'm saying? That's how far I would go. You know what I'm saying? But it doesn't mean that I'm going to take that doctrine. You see, I'm going to build on that. You know what I'm saying? Build on it with my people, my tribe. But at the same time, I'm not going to be this derogatory, or I'm not going to challenge or any other school of thoughts around me. I'm going to be like, hey, if that's your image of Jesus, man, more power to you. More power. No, that's not my image. Well, what do you mean? When they start asking you questions, or what do you mean? What is it? What is your image? I tell them, well, I'm just sticking with the image that's being related, being passed down, related through the actual revelation, those that script. You know what I'm saying? And then I take it even further than that. And so, so there's you know what I'm saying? But then you can't, again, communication, you can't be too steep that it's hard for people to read. You gotta be gradient. The gradient has to be just right, with the right timing for the communication. You know what I'm saying? You just don't blurt it out, challenge. Because I tell you, people get a lot of doctrine, dogma, and immediately they want to challenge and they want to fight and they want to argue. And no, 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 no. Even when I was out there propagating 41 years ago, that just wasn't the way that I was. Brothers can tell you that. I mean, I had a lot of 5 percenters come to me and say, "Oh man, thank you very much for that breakdown. I'll see you in class." Yeah, and they used to come down to class. I had Jehovah Witnesses and come to me. Oh man, appreciate the way you dropped that. Even though people say, "Oh, you're giving them too much jewels and stuff. You're only making them stronger." No, no, I'm giving them something that hopefully, to gain that respect, that affinity, and then create that reality so that we can open up the lines of communication. Because it's not about bashing other, no, 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 not at all. But you want to establish a reality, affinity, and a reality. You know what I'm saying? So in the frame for respect for Good Friday, yeah, Good Friday is a time for families to have a dinner. Maybe I might cook a dinner here for my family. It's a good time for that. Everybody get together, cook a dinner. You know what I'm saying? Acknowledge and what do you say? Commemorate, celebrate the spring, and the spring equinox came before this date. It just happened to fall on this particular date and whatever. But you know what I'm saying, the Gregorian calendar. So we have our own calendar and stuff like that. But it's more or less around this time. You know what I'm saying? Doesn't matter. It's around this time. And so, you know, it's a good time also to implement certain morals and ethics to your family. You know what I'm saying? Morals and ethics and acknowledgement that look, spring is here. This is the time for this, and this is the time when you line up with natural nature. This is what's going on. You know what I'm saying? It's good practices. Anyway, I don't mean to bore you all. I'm just trying to make it up to 3 o'clock so I can do the chant and then exit out. But you know, so this is the beginning. It's a good thing, Um, a good practice also during this time is you should already start. Winter was a time for you to sit back, hibernate, look at your ideas and concept, and then spring, since the conditions are much, you know, gentler for you, is a good time to get out and put those ideas and concepts into practice. Go out there and share your ideas and concepts. You know what I'm saying? It's nice that this brother Hansu, I wish him well, is going to embark in this, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, I, I, I'm not going to, I'm not going to spread myself out so thin, but like I'm saying, I don't want to be part of any drama. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be part of any, argument and stuff like that. Debate, if it's handled properly, could be very beneficial. If it's handled properly, if it's handled the way it's handled in the university, the scholars, the way it's handled. And sometimes you can be, like for instance, let's say you're a Christian and you can take the position, you're asked to take the position of the other side. You know what I'm saying? They got the affirmative side. Oh, and I forgot what the other name is. You can take either side and you have to learn that it's the art of, again, reasoning things out and looking and be able to go into the other side and see from that perspective, you see different things from perspective, and then establish a reality, get to the core, get to the center of it. So some debates can be Very, very beneficial. But when it becomes and get into the argument and all the derogatory terms and this and that, then it lost it lost its true purpose. It lost its true purpose. You know what I'm saying? So getting on some of these platforms, like I was in Amenuma, you know what I'm saying, and I revealed some things to him that he did not know. But you know, and then from Amenuma went over, Hansu, and I understand there's not really a conflict there. They really respect us because they understand Nuwapians and Sabians, we shouldn't have to conflict each other because if you Wu Nuwap or you're Wu Sabat, you know what I'm saying, and ask the question, what is Wu Sabat? What is Wu Nuwap? Your answer should be, you're looking at it. You're looking at me. So you should be living that example. People can see Wu Sabat and Nuwap by the way you carry yourself. You know what I'm saying? By the way you resonate, you know what I'm saying? And you carry yourself. Very, very, very important. You know what I'm saying? You know, you know, as far as, I don't want to go into the whole priest thing and whatever. I mean, 'cause we keep it in Good Friday. Well, Good Friday sometimes, the priests and bless the food and all that, but that's all, again, doctrine and dogma and all that. But your food is already blessed, especially if the food is coming from natural nature. It's blessed. It's blessed by the sun, Raye. Is blessed by the wind, Shu. Is blessed by the soil. Is blessed by the insect. The insects hovering around it, brr, is blessing it. It's blessed. And so when it comes to your plate, you bless it also. You hover over it and you bless it. It's very important. That's moral in concept because you're recognizing, by doing that, you're recognizing that this has been blessed by the forces of nature, insects, the sun, the wind, you know what I'm saying? The soil. Bless your food already. You know what I'm saying? So when it comes to a Good Friday, you're having a Good Friday. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what I don't the resurrection. There's a lot of fallacies that we learned about when it comes to Easter, and we got to be careful because the logic is, like I said, things are being revealed. These children are much smarter. Is what's the connection between a rabbit, right, and a chicken egg? How do you correlate both? You got the rabbit and you got the chicken egg. What's the significance of that when it comes to resurrection? What? There's keys in there. Trust me. If you deal with hieroglyphics, you see. But there are people that follow things and they look at it and they get confused and they don't understand because they don't have the the knowledge, the key to unlock that particular what they call a fallacy. Because fallacy can be unlocked. In order for you to have a fallacy, in order for you to tell a lie, you got to know the truth. Because the lies is just fractal. In order for me to have, right, a quarter, which is a fraction, and I want to get to the whole, what do? I have to time it by what? Right? It would be three-fourths because the fourth and fourth stays the same, right? Four and four, and then no, that's three-fourths. It's two-fourths. With the fourth and four, oh man, that's mathematics. Wait a minute, the fourth four stays four, and then the one. No, what is it? One four. Man, oh, I tell you, algebra is very deep. I gotta do it. It's a board thing. So I gotta get to the board. I gotta revisit that again. Uh, that's embarrassing. I shouldn't have done that. But yeah, it's adding a fraction. You know what I'm saying? You have to take to make the one fourth a whole. You need three-fourths because the four stays the same, but you need three-fourths, right? Because the four equals a whole, right? And how do you get there? You know what I'm saying? So and then mixed fractions. You when you study that, then you get to understand how again bits and pieces and the puzzle fitting, and you could fit it according to the pieces of the puzzle. And you fit it perfectly together, and you can arrive at the truth. So fallacies again, yeah, fallacy can reveal some truth when you separate the fallacy and you're able to break it apart and fit those pieces perfectly together. Once you do that, you're able to arrive at the truth. So the fallacy of Easter, yeah, is a lot in there that we learn. But then again, the sacred science. So you have to understand what the rabbit, the hare, represents in Kemetic science. Mm. And what the egg also represents in Kemetic science. When you understand how that works, you see, I'll give you a clue. And you can study this where, for instance, and the Doggins has been had the Dogons in their cosmology, in their cosmology and the connection with the hieroglyphics mentioned is this book that I was reading. And they're very interesting because if you know rabbits, they vibrate. You know, rabbits shake a lot. You know, that's vibration in the universe. Our ancestors knew, took that to represent the vibration of the universe. You know, then the egg is the beginning, the beginning. You know what I'm saying? So you're acknowledging this force of nature. But that's, I don't want to, like I'm saying, I don't want to reveal certain things. That's to give some, to keep people in a paradigm, to strengthen that. If you're going to expand, you expand. But that's not me to judge anybody on that. But I just threw that key out there. When you look at the hair, when you look at the rabbit, the hair, Harae, hair in the Kemetic science, and you look at the nature of the hair, look at the nature, right? And also their procreation and the way they vibrate. Why do they vibrate like that? What's the attractive measure? What did that represent? Huh? You know what I'm saying? And as far as the egg, what came first, the egg or the chicken? That's a very tricky question because the dinosaur came first. That's another one. But anyway, when you study the hieroglyphs, and again, I'm just gonna say this real briefly, as to become a priest, there are certain rites of passage. You know what I'm saying? Even with Panabayanan, you know, he never pushed it out there, but he was our priest as Amenuburahta, Amenuburahta, you know what I'm saying? And it was a Kemetic priest, and he wrote a lot of books. Ayo Atum Reye, I say he wrote he put out a lot of information about this. Remember, he met Mahmud, who was the grand sheikh of the Khartoum, the larger Khartoum, and he met Mahmud was like the Melchizedek of there in the east, and he met him at the junction of the Nile to participate in certain rituals. Now he said he couldn't tell us too much about those rituals, but he mentioned the experience that he had of how he was praying. There was a trip. It's like he was taking a DMT trip, a ayahuasca trip. You know what I'm saying? A hallucinatory trip. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, that's involved in it when you have a priest, a shaman who's able to prepare you. When you go and you read up, Don Carlos Castaneda and his works with the Yuki Indians in Mexico with the poyote, how it was prepared, and the shaman. And he says there has to be someone, a shaman who knows who's able to guide you through these trips. And then when you come out of there, you become ascended. You become you have a very enhanced awareness, transcendental awareness. And this is the thing, the practice that was practiced also with the Tainos when they went in the cave, those glyphs in the caves, and they initiated certain young men and women to become priests and priestesses, right? They ingested the cohobo. It was like a straw, all right, that in the cohobo, and they went into a trance and hallucinate trance. And then when they looked at the glyphs, a lot of things came at them, a lot. You know what I'm saying? I cannot mention. I'm not gonna mention the trips that I've taken, that what I've done, and with those glyphs, and how you can, you know, the again, you have to have somebody with experience there with you. You can't go to Mexico or things like that and say I want they and they have clinics of ayahuasca clinics to go there and to take those, you know, those chemicals that help you enhance this chemistry in you to see beyond certain things, right? You can't just go out on the fly and do that. You have to be prepared, even with your diet. In Florida, they have clinics like that, ayahuasca clinic. And the first thing you know, you got to be got to go to the doctor. You got to make sure you're in good physical health. You got to make sure that you don't carry a lot of things because everything is going to come out. Everything is going to come out. You know what I'm saying? When you take those trips with mushrooms, you have to have somebody experienced with you, a shaman. This is an ancient practice. This is a priest practice. They even do that in Vatican City with these Catholic priests. They cannot tell you because a lot of it again is sacred knowledge, and they don't tell you. But a lot of these practices are there. A lot of these practices. And those are on here, man. If you can, this is a free will offering. It's Good Friday. If you can donate. My cash app is in the bottom. So just shout out some love if you can. You know what I'm saying? Um, for the rebirthing of things. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. So um these when you deal with priests, understand, and you're going to embark in a priestly life, there's certain rite of passages we call rituals, certain rite of passage that you have. Even with masonry too, you if you're going to practice freemasonry also, you should be of a sound mind. There's certain investigation that have to be done. Some masons have to visit your home, see how you live, see if you're of a sound mind, talk to your neighbors, make sure that you're of good character. Also, doctor, a doctor know, there's certain things that has to take place because you're going to experience certain things, in certain schools of thought. You're going to experience certain things, and we make sure that you're not being harmed. You know what I'm saying? You're not being harmed. So those are priestly practice in the Nile Valley. That's what practice in Nile Valley. You find mushrooms, you find certain chemicals out there. When you read Moses with the Median priest, Jethro, right? Median priest who was also from the order of Melchizedek. He was a high priest on the order of Melchizedek. Get it, high priest. The Median, when you read about their culture, they also ingested certain chemicals, certain plants, ingested it, and went up to the mountains. You know what I'm saying? You see this in the movie 300. You know what I'm saying? You see this in the keys are out there. But in biblical, when he's seeing the burning bush and this and that, and he spoke, all of that is allegorical, metaphor, allegorically. You know what I'm saying? And it deals with when you look into the culture and you go the groundwork and you look into the culture, the median culture, and you start studying and you see how when it came to the priests, the Levitical priests too, the Levi priests, but there's certain practices that were in place, very important practices. So, a lot of times we just get information here and there, but there's missing information called misinformation. You know what I'm saying? And putting the pieces together. You know, so that's very important when you deal with priest, so you're dealing with that particular vine. And so Padnabhayananan had to go through that. He mentioned that he mentioned that in a Radip, I think it was, and no, on the Sons of the Green Light, one of the pamphlets, he mentioned that. I think in the Ratib he mentioned that. Certain schools had to go through certain things he had to go through. What I'm saying? Also the in biblical term, remember Yeshua, you know, Yeshua Messiah or Isa Messiah, what I'm saying? Whatever name you choose to call him with, went up to the mountains. And when it says that dealing with the devil, that's all allegorically. Man, that's his lower self and the higher self. In the mountains, what grows in the mountains? You got to look at what mountain was he's on and what grows in the mountain. What was he ingesting to go on that mountain and be fully aware of what his higher self and lower self. You know what I'm saying? And same thing with Jacob when he became the name Israel, ascending, and he seen the angel ascending Peniel. His Peniel was activated. The DMT was released, and he was seeing the angelic, you know what I'm saying? And then he wrestled with one of them, and it was giving the name Isra to mean ascending, descending and ascending to El. So what was the practices, the Canaanite practices for the priests at that time? What was the practice? Why did he isolate himself? Go to a mountain, right? What grows in the mountain and the Sinai mountain? You got to look at all of this and you say like, wow, you put the pieces together and you're like, wow. And, this is deep. Now, by no way I'm promoting ayahuasca or mushroom or anything. I think that's another practice. If you're mentally strong and practice, that's a way. It's healing also in Africa. There's certain plants that you can heal yourself. Even they use that here in the States. Here when I was in the hospital, what I'm saying, I went through some very mental. They gave me concoction of things and opened me up, and a lot of things came out. And man, I was tripping, and a different where I was swimming with the fishes, that was I was tripping because again, you know, um, when we get sick, a lot of times those suppressive personality, the remedies for that, a lot of times, you can, there are things that there are plants and chemicals that you can use to treat psychotic behavior. There's plants that you can use to treat certain ailments, especially it's like, schizophrenics is because that flight and fight adrenaline is out of balance. But how do you balance it? Equilibrium. How do you balance that? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes they, you know, like my son, not putting his business out there, he's schizophrenic, but he's giving an injection every 3 months and now every 6 months to help, to release certain chemicals in him, to balance him out. You know what I'm saying? And now he's doing good. You know what I'm saying? But before that, I mean, and a lot of times, you got people out here that's, oh yeah, I see other beings and whatever. Yeah, they're seeing those other beings, but it's not probably meant for you to see them unless you what? You're on that level. You're on that level and you understand how, what is, spirit beings. And so there's a whole narratives about that. You know what I'm saying? So we got to look at that. So, but here in Good Friday, um, all in blessings to everybody on this day. You know what I'm saying? I kind of connect back into the ancient Kemetic, not Kemetic, Nile Valley. That's in my mind, Kemetic, because I've been hearing the Kamish. That's been popping up a lot, but you got to be careful of that. It's Nile Valley, Happy Valley to be exact. Happy Valley or Hutka Pata or Hut Ba Pata. You know what I'm saying? Where the people of Ta Seti settled, hunter gatherer. There were certain practices, man, certain practices, and even amongst apes and stuff, they ingest certain things, and oh, they they start, they gain a type of awareness around them. You know what I'm saying? You got insects that does that also. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, you have certain plants out here ingested by certain animals, insects, and humans that ingest these plants and give them a certain type of awareness, because I always said it, the foods you eat, foods have thoughts that are carriers, consciousness, thoughts. You eat bad foods, you're gonna have bad thoughts. You're gonna have nightmares, bad thoughts, because you're eating bad food. That's how your system works. You know what I'm saying? It's related to all of that. So you ingest certain things that gives you a certain experience. You know what I'm saying? Some people, like I say, you shouldn't eat fruits. Fruits, our master teacher don't eat a lot of fruits, because then you become immune to it. Because fruits are healing, because it has vitamin C, the potassium, whatever it has, it heals you. So when you feel, sometimes it comes in my mind, oh, I gotta have a couple of oranges out of the blue, because I know that somewhere in my mind, an orange, lacking, eat for colors, also the sun food, things that connect you. You know what I'm saying? All of this is so, so, so related and important. You know what I'm saying? When we're etheric knowledge, when we're conscious, aware, and conscientious of things. And I'm saying that here now, but I also, as your brother, as an elder, also have a lot of things that I have to repair, and a lot of things that I'm working with. And I have to remind myself all the time. You know what I'm saying? I have a battle with chicken. Me and chicken are battling all the time. But now I learned, I said, you know something, I gotta limit the amount of chicken I eat, and try, instead of two pieces, one piece. And then instead of 5 days a week, let's make it 2 days a week. You know what I'm saying? And then try days not cooking and just eating raw vegetables. You know what I'm saying? Gradually. Don't, you know, do it so like, you know, you got to do it gradually, gradually. Take a couple of days to do certain things. Meditation, the idea of breath meditation, but you don't do that every day. I don't meditate every day. That's abusive. I meditate when I know I need a meditation. You know what I'm saying? Then I do it. You know what I'm saying? Then I meditate. You don't pray. Well, I don't pray or worship. You know what I'm saying? I just have reverence. I do reverence. When I get up in the morning, you're gonna reverence. You put up the shades, you see the sun. You're, even if you are not conscious of it, but all the cells in your body acknowledge the sunlight. All the cells in your body acknowledges, because it switches over from the melatonin to the serotonin. And now you're awake. Everything in the system. So when you're in balance with the system and you understand how it flows, then that's when you start what? Creating. You start creating, and you start to be in your flow. You start being yourself. You start being in your flow. You know what I'm saying? And people, natural people, not only people, but natural nature will see that you reveal who you really are. Like I was telling the brother, saying that you be yourself. It's natural nature that's going to reveal. And that's one of the lessons, Sufi lessons, Sons of the Green Light, that was taught to us, is that we have a perspective of how we see ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Then we have a perspective, that there's a perspective how people see us. Then we have a perspective of how natural nature, the perspective of natural nature. The most powerful and the most powerful and balanced is natural nature. Because sometimes people might see you and you don't see the same thing. It's different than how you see yourself. You know what I'm saying? It creates that friction, that imbalance. But when you be yourself, natural nature reveal, oh, that's who you are. Not because that's my perspective, because the conditions around you, when you come around, changes. The conditions around you is different. You're bringing this different energy. You know what I'm saying? I have crystals, but I'm not a practitioner of crystals. Singing bowls, I have things. I'm a musician, so I have things around me. I have my keyboard. But again, I'm not, there are people that want to, they get caught up in it and they become, they master the art of those things, and that's cool. But everyone is, we're all different. Not everyone's the same. Nobody's, no one's the same in the inside and outside. Sorry to say that in terms of mental, but we all complement each other. You know what I'm saying? We all build upon each other. We complement, we learn from each other. We teach each other and we learn from each other, and that's important. You know, you know, learn from the ants, learn from the bees, learn from natural nature, everything around you. But you heard this before. You know what I'm saying? And it's not kumbaya moment because everything in natural nature, like I told a brother about the Nataru. Nataru means natural nature. That's where you get nature from. Nataru, those overseers of natural nature that 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 sets these conditions around us, right? But sometimes these forces of nature have to do what? Balance. Sometimes they're detrimental. That's why in the Taino, some indigenous culture, especially in the Taino culture, they talk about a natural force called huracan. Huracan, right? What it does is washes, it destroys, it washes things in order for what to happen? To replenish. You know what I'm saying? Some for natural nature occurring. Natural nature has four cataclysm, right? You got fire, water, and earth, like earthquakes and stuff, and fires and meteors, and the water, the floods, and then you have ether, that energy that moves things, that electromagnetic forces, that etheric forces that moves us to do, and also to involve ourselves with our environment, right? That can have a cataclysm around it also. That can affect the way the imbalancement, that can affect us. You know what I'm saying? Earth cataclysm is when, it was shifted from 23 degrees, and now it's shifting back and it's balancing itself. So there's cataclysm in those forms. You know what I'm saying? So there are times where things have to be destroyed, right? This deconstructed in order to construct again. You know what I'm saying? Yes. Thank you. So there are times where things have to be, and so I watch those forces of nature. You watch tornadoes out of operation, huracan. You watch that and you say, oh, okay, what comes after that? What comes after that? We're now at the spring moment. Good Friday. We're now in the spring moment in nature. It went through a death cycle. And I know that it's marking a spring moment because I see these pine trees. You see, I mark the pine trees in front of me. Over here, I got a couple of pine trees around my window. In the winter, it's all branches. It's not dead. It's just, it's living. It's reversed, right? That's another thing. That's another concept. But then now I'm seeing it blossom. Usually when you get up, because it happens at night, because it needs those conditions of darkness, which is all the possibility, all those, all the possibility, all the electromagnetic forces in movement, right? And then it squeezes it out, and then with the moisture, it rains, and then with the moisture in the soil and all that, and now it's blooming. You see, you see the pine trees and you see it blooming, flowers and stuff like that. So that's how I mark I know I'm in spring equinox. I'm in spring because I see natural nature happening around me like that. You know what I'm saying? So I get to see that. Hold on a second. I'm sorry. I didn't want to be disrupted by my granddaughter, so I had to put her out. Oh, go over there. And so, um, that's very interesting, man. Saying that. So we're marking again, like I said. Anyway, I got 15 minutes. I'm gonna start the chant early, because it's just a Gregorian calendar, but I feel it in me, you know what I'm saying? I feel it in me, because it's important, you know what I'm saying? Okay. So this is see, Pak Tak Yud, the affirmation. Anukai Jawi Pa Ashuk Impa Pahut. I am in the divine love of the all expanding. Wukali Ashuk Kawun Jawif Niya. And all divine love is in me. Anukai Kwasaum Impa Pahut. I am part of the all expanding. Wopa Pahut Kawun Kwasaum In Niya. And the all expanding is part of me. Anukai Wahu Ame Papaut. I'm one as the all expanding. Wupapaut Kawun Wahu Ame Niya. I'm the all expand and the all expanding is one as me. Nakuk Kwadur Naju Ame Kwasaum Impa Paut. I can succeed as part of the all expanding. Wuhabub, Ame, Mushras, and fail as an individual person. Nakuk Kwadur, Kawan Kalif, Pafif, Nakuk Tayur, Jawif, Papaut. I can be all that I want in the all expanding. Ame, Wasa, Ame, Dayarni, Kawung, Lake Bakoy, Jawif, Papaut. As long as my one is to stay in the all expanding. Anukaya bid by nafashni. I'm never by myself. Papaot kawun anukai. And the all expanding is I am. Papaot kodur nakuk kodur. And all expanding I can. Papaot amul nakuk amul. And the all expanding does I do. Lahehum manahun for them from us. Lahum manahnun for them from us. Abtihum athir karirhum they are with them. Amtihum athir karirkum they are with you all. Amtihum athir karirnun they are with us. Amtihum athir jawifniya they are inside me. Amtihum athir niyawu anukai hum. They are me and I am them. Yayi ashuk reye, O divine loving ray. Ashmuh jayah noon. Listen at us. Yayi nathar wu afuk noon. O overseers, accept us. Anun atir mukhralukum. We are you all's children. Yayi natharu afuknun. Overseers, accept us. Afuknun, accept us, accept us. Yayi natharu, oh our overseers. Anun, atum, atum, amun. Yayehu, yayehu, yaye natharu. Yaye saye, yaye saye, yaye natharu. All force of creative will. Yayehu. All force of creative will, all overseers. Yaye saye, yaye saye, yaye natharu. All perspective mind, all overseers. Yaye haika, yaye haika, yaye na ahu. Oh, supernatural strength, overseer. Amtikum atirpa, muf, mufa aku. You all are the supreme one. Yaehu, Yaehu, Yae Nataru. Oh, force of creative will, oh, force of creative will, all overseer. Amtikum atir pa mufa aku. You all are the supremes one. Wo anu atir mukradukum. We are you all's children. Wo amtunkum atir musarnun. And you all are our family. Yaehu, Yaehu, Yayi Nataru. Oh, force of creative will, oh, force of creative will, oh, overseer. Ahrur, Mukhlas, Nun, Atum Reye, free our Savior, Antum Reye. Yaehu, Yaehu, Yayi Nataru. Oh, force of creative will, oh, force of creative will, all overseers. Yaye Mukdamu, Afudnu, O ancient one God, Antinku Mana, Yaka, Laduda, Muslafunun, you all, from whom birth our ancestors. Womusarunun, and our family. Mana Yaka, Sawura Papa, and from whom fashioned the soul. Mana Yaka, Kawuna Ka'ahu, and whom were spirits. Manayaka Atir Achach, and whom are ether. Manayaka Kawuna Bashar Wudamam, and whom were flesh and blood. Yayi the Faru Mukdam Unu, overseers our ancient one. Arur Mufdadnun, Friam Redeemer. Anhu Kawumunzal Manah Panatau. He is the one sent from the overseers. Aruranhu, free him. Anhu Kawum Ba'ah Yananan. He is Ba'aba Yanan. Aruranhu, free him. Anhu Kawum Antum Reye. He is Antum Reye. Arur Anhu, free him. Anhu Kawum Harur, he is free. Yaye Natharum, Muslafunun, overseer, or ancestors. Afuzun Manahpa, which wadu, guard us from the wicked one. Afuthnun Manah, Gahalan, guard us from ignorance. Gahalnan. Yaye Natharu, Afuthnun, overseers, guard us. Manah, Sayur, Gayura, from becoming changed. Afudnun, Afudniya, God has God me. Afudnun, Afudniya, God has God me. Yayin Tarunun, oh, our overseer. I'm going to stop there. There's much more. Okay. And so those are the chants, you know what I'm saying? And with your permission of all those out there that are practicing Muspatia, Lahad, um, you know, forgive me if I mispronounced anything. But again, I'm reading the actual glyphs and studying more and more and more of pronunciation, the diphthongs and stuff. My eyes are tearing. My eyes are super tearing. And you know, when that happens and you know that you're making the right connection, you know that the Natharu are listening, are listening. You know that very important. I'm overwhelmed. Much respect for the father and our ancestors. You know what I'm saying? So, just want to just recap a little bit. Say this is Good Friday. In the past year, I'm sorry. I got my notes. What I was gonna say. I got my notes. Let me see. Let me pull it up over here. What? Mm, mm, there you go. So there's gonna be a celebration on Saturday, right? It's usually on Sundays, but it's called the Arashtat Habal. Arashtat Habal. All right. And that's going to be it's Saturday. Should it, some people had things to do on Sunday, so didn't do it. But Saturday, it's these days. You know what I'm saying? It's these days. Nothing is written in stones when it there are certain things written in stones, or no fact. That's a fact. Many things written on stones, but this particular practice like this is not written on stones that I know. You know what I'm saying? That'd be interesting. I'm gonna reach out to Hansu. Also, I'm a numeral. We can find this um in the actual glyphs, and to the wall. You can remember, Panabayanan went to ancient Kemet and he went into the where you see the wall of the Ani, you know what I'm saying? And he read those glyphs. Again, that's a priest, a spiritual practice. He was guarded. He was guarded, and he was the guidance of another master, a guidance, and he was guarded into the inner caverns, into the he grant access to certain chambers in Giza, in those pyramid. You know what I'm saying? Guarded to certain places. You know what I'm saying? Um, throughout throughout even through the Sudans and stuff, and I'm sure the Timbuktu and Morocco. Because again, when you have again there's a system in place. A lot of it has to do with the lodges, Masonic lodges, the African lodges, and the Masonic and this rite of passage. So you take your try. If you belong to a lodge, and make the right connections, and they make the connections to the African lodge, and like my charter, our charter that I was raised in was from Liberia, so I will make that connection, and from Liberia make the connection to Mali, and make the connection to Kemet. Certain places you go in Ghana. There's certain groups that have certain access to certain rooms and chambers in these countries. You know what I'm saying? They're guarded. And it's also like that in the States. Brother Hansu, my brother was telling me that there's certain you in order to gain access to certain in City Hall, which was the first African Masonic Lodge in Philadelphia, they closed those certain rooms. In order for you to have access to certain things, if you are a master mason and you have the right connections, what I'm saying, and the letter of introduction, you have the right connections, you can get into certain rooms that are, certain rooms. It's just like that. You know what I'm saying? Archives. Like Vatican City is the same way. You know what I'm saying? You have, Knights of Columbus or Knight Templars. They gain access to certain rooms in Vatican cities that not everybody can access. Because again, a lot of this stuff have to be protected. Have to be protected. That's what I also mentioned in the podcast with Hunsu that, you know, um, the sacred writings were sacred, secret writings sacred because these were glyphs and what oral tradition was passed on from the master to the initiated were passed on, and certain rites of rituals had to take place. Diet had to make sure all that had to take place. You know what I'm saying? And protect it because you had a lot of invaders coming in. Look what happened. Even we in Wu Sabat, we have some some doctrine that was taught to us that is not for the public. Look what happened to the Nation of Islam when Clarinex 13 took those. You know those lessons of 120 degrees and all that? Those were lessons strictly for the inner chambers, for the inner of the nation of Islam. It wasn't out for the public. But then you get somebody who feels that, oh, I think the public should have the whatever. Look what happened. You created a movement, and not to be so discredit them, the brothers doing their work, but you created. Look what you did. You created a whole different movement from the Nation of Islam called the Nation of Gods and Earth. The 5%ers. They call the 5%ers and so forth like that. And they had the little storefront over there in 125th Street near there. They had the little storefront, whatever. But it's not an actual community. They have a common unity, but you don't see you don't see a growth. You don't see an institution that I know of that institution. The Nation of Islam had those institutions at one time, but then that was supposed to be passed over to the Ansar, to the that was passed over to the one that had the key, the letter Lamb. You see, the letter Lamb. So a lot, they're gonna come back around. Trust me. Those brothers are going to come back around because they're all now understanding, and then through the science of like Scientology, they're learning certain things that's going to open them up, and they're learning certain things because I don't discredit Scientology either. There's some lessons in it, and a lot of those brother for nation Islam, they don't join the Church of Scientology. They just use that doctrine because they understand that doctrine and dogma a lot, and they trace it back to the source. They could gain certain information that can help them better communicate with other people, with the masses of people. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I deal with the 19 courses that coming from Scientology online. Those 19 courses very important because you can link it up with Wu Sabat. Very much with Wu Sabat. And like I said, there is one of them that talks about a suppressive personality, one of the courses, and talks about fear. That the core of the suppressive personality is fear. But then when you look at the maximum of Yananin, you know what I'm saying, and you add it up, he says, man, what most people these days fear is the truth. Fear. And that fear causes a suppressive personality. I've seen that work. And then when you even tie that into the science of energy center, you understand that the root where survival is at casts a shadow of fear, right? But here's the thing. If you have the fear of not having a place to lie your head, the fear of not having enough food, the fear of not protect your family or whatever, and then you go out there because of that fear drives you to create an antisocial act. When you don't, if you have a fear of not having something to eat or for your head, then you get a job or you go out there and you propagate. You go out there and there's ways to obtain your survival without harming. See, the thing is to cause less harm in this society. You know what I'm saying? Cause less harm. There are things that can be done. So again, fear is at the core of it. You know what I'm saying? And then develop a lot of suppressive personality. So you can match it up with that. You know what I'm saying? And you can match it up. And I read like so just to do real quickly, um, um, and I'll go more and more and more into this. But the basic reason, one of the basic reasons that the antisocial personality behave, people that are antisocial, they behave a certain way, is that there's a hidden terror, a very strong fear for others. For others, there's a fear of others. You know what I'm saying? The antisocial personality, every other person is an enemy to them, to be secretly or openly destroyed. You know what I'm saying? You're my enemy. I have to destroy you secretly because you outshining me or you're doing something, there's a strong fear there. You're not safe and secure, so you're fearing somebody. But fear at times can help you in securing yourself. You know what I'm saying? But fear can have a strong detrimental output. You know what I'm saying? So the antisocial personality, they continuously thinking that to stay alive, he's got to stop, he's got to keep stopping other people or not let them learn or become clever, able to do things. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to stop you. And that's where wrong racism comes in. I'm going to stop you. See, that's an antisocial person from doing, for bettering yourself because I fear that somehow you are going to use that against me. Those antisocial, again, personalities like that. And that's what happened in Utla. You know what I'm saying? In the another civilization that was here on earth, you know what I'm saying? The fear of certain scientists and people having this technology of nuclear technology, of harnessing the power of the sun's the nuclear sun, the power, nuclear power of the sun. They fear that. And so they rain on it and cause a cataclysm. You know what I'm saying? And so cause a resonance, cause, yeah, cause a renaissance and cause the desert to, just wipe things down. An area that was very flourishing in in fish and flourishing a flourishing garden. You know, so if anybody, you see that you got a lot of antisocial personality, even in what they call in we have to be careful because you have antisocial people that also in CEOs or big seats in government, whatever. We got to make sure that they're not antisocial personality, that they're doing things to protect the better of people. But a lot of times, when someone promised to make other people stronger and better or more clever, the antisocial personality will feel a great personal danger. Danger. You know what I'm saying? A danger. There has been organization that has been set by antisocial personalities. They had this deep fear in them, a hidden terror in them, and created programs, COINTEL created programs to stop. But I understand that when you get knuckleheads who takes doctrine, run with it, and don't know how to use it to better the social condition of people, society, or their environment. They don't. It's just they're running with a doctrine. They're running with, you know what I'm saying? You're not making certain people have to be better. You know what I'm saying? Let them grow. I that's why I appreciate Pat Nabayanana because as an Ansar over there, he never discouraged me to go to NYU. I went to NYU and I had brothers in that same bay that were in law school, went to CUNY, I went to certain pre-law, and we used to bunk together. We were in the same room, same bay, with discussions. You know what I'm saying? Because Panabayan and wanted all the brothers that were, you know what I'm saying, was creating an environment. You know, so the anti-social they think that if they are in that if they are in this much trouble with people around them who are weak and stupid, they will be destroyed if anyone becomes stronger and brighter. That's the way they think. If you become strong, if I'm around stupid people and weak people, if they become stronger and brighter, the antisocial will think that they'll be in grave danger. They got a problem. I got a problem with that. These are dumb people, these are stupid people, but they're waking up. They're waking up, you know. And when you wake up, again, conscient, conscious, you become aware, you also have to become conscientious. The act, and then you have to be beneficial. You know what I'm saying? Such people like antisocial people, they don't have trust in other people. And I know trust is a big word. He's actually very scared of people, but this is usually hidden. You're scared of people harming you. It's hidden. It's hidden. You're afraid. You're scared people. You know. That's why I hate. You know. You know. There's a hidden fear there. That's you have to be careful how you raise up children around you and not and that fear. They shouldn't fear the parents. You know what I'm saying? They shouldn't be scared. You know what I'm saying? They should be able to respect and know protocol rules and regulations. You know what I'm saying? You could communicate. You just got to know how to communicate with a child. But then a person that's somewhere and afraid that another person has a gun or another person has a weapon or something, and or afraid of aliens or afraid of ghouls, and you know what I'm saying? In deep hidden in them, there's a fear, so they become suppressive. When somebody like this who has this fear inside, they go completely mad, insane. Then he thinks that each person is a Martian, or everyone is FBI. Everybody's an agent. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's a Martian. Everybody an alien. They went completely mad. But most antisocial personalities show no visible signs of insanity. You know that? They don't show the visible sign. It's deep inside of them. They appear quite sane. They're able to persuade you that they're not crazy. You know what I'm saying? So we had, again, learning with the 19 courses, learning how to look at that. You know what I'm saying? However, the list given earlier made up of things which such personality cannot see himself. This is true that if you thought you display one of the characteristic in the list, right? And I didn't. I'll mention the list in a little bit. But these characteristics in the list, you most certainly are not an antisocial personality, because your ability to look into yourself, right, and make a judgment that you have done something wrong is something that an antisocial person cannot do. They can't look into themselves and say, "Man, I'm doing wrong. I've done wrong." They can't do that. They're not. They can't. They must be right, because they believe they are in a continuing danger. We have to heal that amongst people around us too. If you prove an antisocial personality to be wrong, you might even cause him to become severely ill. Ill. If you try to prove this person to be wrong, then you can cause that person to become seriously ill. Only the same person tries to correct his own behavior. Not, again, very important. You can harm somebody by proving their antisocial personality. So you shouldn't do that. You got to work within yourself, and then live by the example. Live by the example. You know, do the shadow work. So part of the shadow work is taking those shadow selves, and one of them is fear. Address your fear. It's hidden terror within you. Once you do, and that resonates with people around you. That's going to resonate. You know? So yeah, the characteristics, the characteristics of antisocial personality, they have the following characteristics that I'm just going to go through, and then I'm going to end it here. He speaks only in very broad generality terms, a statement like that gives no detail. Like they say, or everybody thinks, everyone knows, everybody. The similar statement are in continuous use, particularly when spreading rumors. They spread rumors. Oh, they're saying this. Everybody knows this. This is, for example, antisocial person cannot, they they can't spread a rumor such as nobody likes to go to that restaurant. Everybody hates it. When asked, who is everybody? Who are you talking about? He pretends that it is the opinion of the whole society. No, it's the opinion of certain people maybe you met, but not everybody. I'm sure other people have great experience. It's normally turned out to be that the only one person said it, and that one person is that antisocial personality himself. You see that a lot with a lot of disgruntled members, especially in the Nuwapian nation. And some, well, not Sabine because that came later on, but a lot of Nuwapians and Ansars, they become disgruntled. You know what I'm saying? It's because they had a bad experience, so they spread the rumors and says, no, no, everybody knows that that's pseudo. Everybody knows that the man did this. Everybody knows that, but they had a bad experience. Who's the everybody? Who are you specifically? What's the detail? Who are you speaking about? See, they can't do that. This is natural to the antisocial personality. Since to him, all society at large, hostile generality. stacked against the social personality in particular. Everybody are hostile towards me. Such a person deals mainly in bad news, man. That's I don't watch the news. I don't like bad news, critical or hostile remarks, invalidation, making someone seems wrong and less worthy, a general suppression, action that keep others down, make them fall, and etc. I have to keep you down, suppressive. You're pseudo. Those are antisocial personality. You know what I'm saying? If you pseudo, if you say somebody's pseudo, you derogatory, now the burden of proof is on you. Who's the everybody? What in particular, what details do you know that I don't know? Because I'm here to find out what I don't know. What are you saying? See, antisocial personality can do that. There's no good news or compliment passed along by such a person. No good news. Right? That's why in some news now they all, especially some local news, they add good news with it. You know what I'm saying? But they always perpetuate this bad news. Bad. There's people that love to do that. They love, you know, like I said, I can't judge nobody, and I'm not gonna call out no antisocial personality and stuff like that. But I'm gonna look at myself and make sure that by example that is not me. And then when confronted with antisocial that I know in myself that's an antisociable characteristic, I'm gonna say, well, who's the everybody? Who's saying that? You know what I'm saying? This one person, that person, you know, you're saying everybody. That, you know what I'm saying? But then again, you don't say, oh, that's no, oh, okay, okay, okay. That's what you say. Not everybody that I know don't say that. You know? Simple. For example, say a young girl was learning to play the piano, right? Or the drum. The antisocial personality would be likely to make a comments about how the girl's making errors. You're making errors, playing too many wrong notes, being critical, and saying the piano was an instrument he hated. A hostile remark, and then telling the girl that she did not have the basic talent and would never be able to play the piano properly. That's suppression. You know, another characteristic is that anti-personality worsens the communication when he passes along messages and news. They worsen the communication. They down the level of affinity. There's no reality being set because they're down in the affinity. Good news is stopping, and only bad news, often added to, is passed along. That's antisocial. Such a person also pretends to pass along bad news, which is actually invented by him. So, like I was saying, within me, within ourselves, yourself, you have to watch that and make sure you're not perpetuating that, postulating it, or perpetuating it. One of the saddest things about the antisocial personality is that he does not improve or get well as a result of treatment that he received. They don't get well. Surrounding such a personality, they don't get well. And if you recognize this in yourself, you're not antisocial because you're able to recognize this in yourself. You see, antisocial person cannot recognize this within themselves. That has to come from within. That acknowledgement has to come from within. You know what I'm saying? One of the saddest thing about the surrounding such personality, one find frightened or ill family members, and that's true. Or friends who, when they actually made to become insane, are failing. Such people have been frightened or made ill by the antisocial personality to make trouble for others. They become ill, become frightened. Antisocial personality around them. So you got to look around you and you got to say, oh, listen, when treated and educated, people connected to the antisocial personality do not get better and stay that way, nor did they feel good for a while and remaining feeling good. They soon start to feel ill again and get unhappy, being under the influence of the antisocial personality. For a while, that might feel good and remain feeling good, whatever. But then again, they fall right back into it, and and the same thing with yourself. You know, there are people that they not commonly recover in expected time from physical illness. even with treatment. Instead, they get worse and have poor recovery. You know what I'm saying? That's what you gotta watch. You know what I'm saying? I have a situation. I have to watch an antisocial person putting information into someone that I love, and they put that in their condition get worse. There's no recovery. But when the person is around me, they're recovering very well because I recognize that within me, and I have to again do the work and be conscious of that. The largest number of insane people become insane because of such antisocial connection, and they do not easily recover from the same reason. Now, the antisocial personality continues selects a wrong target, the cause for the anger. They get a flat tire, right? Because they ran over a nail and they cursing the person who's traveling with them. It's your fault. You bringing me bad energy. That's an antisocial way. You know what I'm saying? You riding in your car and something happens, you go over, something happens. You don't blame the person and say, oh, or something happens in your, oh, it's because it's you. You, you brought this in. You know what I'm saying? You made this incident happen. You know what I'm saying? But the truth is, the core of it is that you got to look into the core of why are these things happening? Why are you going over this nail? You know what I'm saying? Some things just happen because you're not aware, and it's meant to happen. But it's not to blame the next person. The radio's is too loud next door, so you kick your cat. Hey, is the radio loud next door and you're having a problem with your neighbor, but you come back and you kick your cat or your dog. So if A is obviously caused, then the antisocial personality blames B, C, or D. The antisocial personality cannot finish a project or action. Can't finish. And and I'm a testament to that. Certain projects that I had sitting, I couldn't finish because I had to deal, and not only to blame people around me, antisocial personality, but recognize it how it's affecting me. How is this affecting me? And work with that. You know, this antisocial personality, they get surrounded by incomplete projects and things that were started but never finished. When you gonna finish? I know. And I've seen this happen with good friends of mine. They could never finish project, and they go into their room. They could never finish no projects, and they have problems. But when they look within themselves and they get rid of that anti-social, that suppressive person within themselves, and you see them, progressing. Many antisocial personality will easily confess to the most alarming crime, but they will have no sense of responsibility for them. No responsibility. Their action have little or nothing to do with their own choices or decisions. Things just happen. No, things did not just happen. You made it happen. Damn it. There's no sense of actually having caused something, so cannot feel any shame or guilt when they have done something wrong. Again, shame and guilt is from the shadow self, the light that it casts. Willpower casts shame, and pleasure casts the guilt. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes you get so caught up in the pleasure, right? And then you cannot acknowledge the guilt and you can't do the shadow work. You have to have that balance, man. You know what I'm saying? So, there's ways you can impact this and look at it, you know. So the antisocial personality only supports destructive groups and attacks any constructive group or group working to help people. You notice that's happening a lot on the internet. A lot. That's very strong in the internet. You know, it supports the destructive groups. You know what I'm saying? And you got to really look at that. And then they start attacking those that people that are trying to help other people. They start attacking. That's an antisocial. You got to look into yourself. Again, I'm not pointing out any antisocial personality out here. I'm just saying that this is a characteristic that I got to look within myself and make sure that this is not how I'm resonating, and I'm not resonating with people like that around me. I have to put them at a distance deal with them at a distance, and when I'm present, know that I'm not going to stand for that. That's not, and I'm going to try the best of my ability. I'm definitely going to do the best of my ability to try to balance things out. You know what I'm saying? For the sake of humanity. Again, our nation, our tribe, and our humanity, my family. You know, uh, antisocial personality approve only the destructive action and fights against constructive people, right? The artist in particular is often attacked and suppressed by personality. Artists who see in his heart something that must be destroyed, and as a friend, try to do something behind their back. And that was a discussion we had yesterday with the team in Samaka in Jamaica, and sisters are coming out there. There are people working behind their back to destroy something that the, their expression, something that they put out. You know what I'm saying? And they tried to destroy it behind their back and tried to destroy it. Man, helping others in activity that drives antisocial personality nearly insane. Activity that destroy in the name of help, however, are closely supported. You know what I'm saying? The antisocial personality, they have a bad sense of who owns property and thinks the idea that everyone owns anything is a lie made up by up to fool people. To him, nothing is ever really owned. You know what I'm saying? But then you have to really, really, really impact that. What is ownership and so and so and so. So, there are certain properties that are owned by certain people, and there's some properties that are stolen by people who don't really own it. You know what I'm saying? But then that burden of proof is on you. Burden of proof is on you. You know what I'm saying? So, that's very interesting. Like I said, this coming from Scientology, I don't totally agreed a lot of this, but I try to use it and try again to figure it out and try to make sure that I'm not being programmed or I'm not being deceived by certain narratives. So I'm arm myself with Nuwapo and Wusabat, where I'm able to figure things. I use my nine mind to figure things out, and that's what I did here. You know what I'm saying? Because over here it says, let me read it verbatim and let me demonstrate something. The antisocial personality has a bad sense of who owns property and thinks that the idea that anyone owns anything is a lie made up to fool people. To him, nothing is really owned. But we have to be very, so you see, in applying nine mind, I have to be very careful with this because, okay, again, I'm overstanding the bad sense of who owns property. So, you know, properties are owned, right? And you have to prove that you own these properties, right? And you have to, when it comes to property, there's certain paperwork that have to be done, or properties could be grandfather in. You know what I'm saying? So these things have to be thought about. So the idea is that anyone owns anything is a lie made up to fool people. But that's not true because sometimes, you know what I'm saying? I mean, the antisocial people would think that that's just there to fool people, you know what I'm saying? That owning anything, you know what I'm saying? So they're going to use that narrative. But then again, people have been fooled, okay? People have been fooled to think that there's a particular owner to something when they're not really the owner of it. So you have to do investigative work. You got to look really deep into that investigative. You got to invest your time into it, do the work, and says, well, listen, is it a lie or is it the truth? But to say that anyone owns anything, no, people do own things. So the antisocial person, they believe that people don't own anything. But no, property can be owned. And when you own it, again, you have to prove that you own it. You know what I'm saying? When challenged, you got to prove that you own it. You know what I'm saying? Things changes, life changes. Like You can use this in terms of like who owns the rights to the United States of America. There's a discussion on that. Is it the corporation that's in Washington D.C. or is it the Moorish paradigm, the people, the tribes that are out here that were grandfathered in? So that you know conversation is that. So the antisocial person will be like, nobody owns this, so I'm able to take it. That's antisocial personality. You know what I'm saying? No one owns it, so I'm going to go and take it. But that's not true. It has it's tied to a specific bloodline. It's tied to a specific family or tribal. The land is tied to that. That's the echo, the habitat. And the environment is tied to certain families, certain houses and families and tribes, you know what I'm saying? Nations. That has to be, but the antisocial person, they have a bad sense of like who owns this property. They have a bad sense of that. They just plunger it. So we're dealing with a lot of that. But you again, for yourself, you gotta look at it like for me when I look at it and say I have to be very conscious of property and the rules and regulation of the property around me. You know what I'm saying? And knowing to care for that property because the property that I live in right now is owned by someone. They have the titles and the rights to this landmass, right? And so I have to be complicit to that because it's not until I buy it is it's not my property, but I'm entrusted with the property to live in this property. I'm entrusted that I'm going to abide by those rules and regulations and help maintain this property. You know what I'm saying? That affinity, you know? So it's important. Important. Well, I'm gonna leave it there. Um so again, Good Friday, you know, you know, and I will see everyone at another time and I appreciate for those spending time here with me. You're very appreciative. Okay. And so I'm going to end the stream. Ciao.